Hello, everyone, and welcome to Naz's Corner. Today I'm going to look at one of my favorite shows, a sitcom called Moesha that originally premiered in 1996 and tells the coming of age story of a girl named Moesha Mitchell, and explores her relationships with her family, her school life, and her love life. Okay, so Moesha had 6 seasons, and I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what happens in each of them. Season 1 is a straightforward introduction to Moesha's life, her relationship with her friends and her family, and her conflict with her new stepmother Dee. Season 2 mostly revolves around a conflict with Moesha's first serious relationship with a boy named Q and what happens when her father staunchly disapproves of it. Season 3 is about Moesha being sent to another school by her parents after they catch Q in her bedroom. Season 4 is about Moesha going back to her old school and finishing up her senior year. Season 5 is about Moesha going to college and her very obnoxious cousin Dorian moving into the Mitchell household and causing all sorts of trouble. Season 6, well, Season 6 doesn't really have much of a plot. Moesha gets engaged to Q, Dorian tries to become a rapper, and then the show ends on a cliffhanger. Yeah. So now let's talk about the characters, starting with Miss Moesha Mitchell herself. Now, anybody who's seen this show can tell you that Moesha is an absolute nuisance. She's mean, she's selfish, she's nosy, but then again, a lot of teenagers are, so I can't really harp on her for that. She does get better as the show gets on, but she still has a very bad tendency to jump to conclusions and never mind her business. But overall, I do like her, and she has a very interesting story, and she's an easy character to root for, especially when she has to deal with her evil ass daddy, who I'll get to later. Next character is Miles. Now, Miles, he only has one job in this show, and it's to be an annoying younger sibling. And as a younger sibling myself, I can say that he does his job pretty well. Though there is like one time or maybe 2 times in the show where he was allowed to actually expand his character and do something else other than annoy Moesha. One time he got caught smoking weed because he was mad that he wasn't getting enough attention from his parents, and another time, Frank and Moesha got into this fight, and Moesha moved out, and Miles he lied to his family to get everyone to come to the house just so that Frank and Moesha could talk to each other and Moesha can move back in. And I really like those moments. I like the moments where Miles and Moesha can like show their love for each other. But other than that, he's just there for one job, and he does it pretty well. Next character is Dee. Dee is the best character in the entire series because she's often the only character with sense. She's a vice principal, so she knows how to deal with teenagers and especially how to handle Moesha. She's a much better parent than Frank is. She's sweet. She's very progressive. She always advocates for um Moesha to like have more freedom, and she's always calling out Frank whenever he's being too mean to her. Though sometimes I wish she could have done a little bit more to protect Moesha from Frank, but then again Frank is very stubborn, so I understand why she just gave up sometimes. But other than that, Dee is perfect. There's really nothing wrong with her. Next character is Kim. Now, you may recognize Kim Parker from The Parkers because fun fact, I actually watched The Parkers before I watched Moesha. I didn't even know that The Parkers was a spinoff when I first watched it. Kim is very funny. She's like the typical airheaded, dumb best friend, but she's very sweet. She's a pretty good friend to Moesha, even though Moesha often isn't often very nice to her. She likes to make fat jokes about Kim, especially in the earlier seasons, and that wasn't cool at all. But other than that, Kim is very funny. She's one of the funniest characters in this show, next to Hakeem. Speaking of which, next character is Hakeem. Hakeem is probably Moesha's like the best friend that Moesha has. He's one of the few people that can keep her in check. He's always calling her out whenever she's being too nosy. He's funny, he's sweet, and well, he and Moesha become a couple later on in this show, and I'm not really sure how I feel about that. Yeah. Next character is Nisi. Nisi is Moesha's other friend. Nisi's very funny too. And she doesn't really do much in the beginning. Kim was mostly her best friend, then Nisi got a bigger role as the series went on. And I think she's on Hakeem's level of being like as funny and as supportive and as good as calling Moesha out on her bullshit. But yeah, she's fine. I don't really have much to say about her either because most of Moesha's friends only have one role in the show. It's just like to be funny and to make like a bunch of jokes. Next character is Dorian. I don't really have much to say about Dorian because he's only there for like one reason is and it's to cause trouble like everywhere he goes. Like, I don't really know what the point of his character really was because all he does is just cause a bunch of stress and chaos in the Mitchell household with these really dumb get rich quick schemes. Like, he robbed Moesha's dorm and he tried to become a rapper and got Miles kidnapped. I don't really know why he does all this. I don't really know why he's so obsessed with getting rich and putting his family in danger because of it. It's implied that he was spoiled as a child. I don't know. The way he acts out isn't like when we see Moesha acting out, because Moesha acting out makes sense with the father that raised her. But I don't really know why Dorian is so bratty and why he always try to like screw his family over. But he single handedly made the show nearly unwatchable because he was just that irritating. Frank Mitchell is the villain of Moesha. There's really no other way to put it. None. Like, you can argue with the wall. I do not care. I hate Frank Mitchell. I've hated him ever since I was a kid. I cannot believe the way this man treats his daughter. Let me just tell you some of the stuff that this man has done. Moesha got a tattoo and wore a midriff top that kind of showed a little bit of her belly button and also showed off the tattoo, and Frank called her a tramp. Yes, he called his own daughter a tramp. And well, let's talk about the way that this man freaks out whenever Moesha so much as looks at a guy. He really does not want her to date at all. He punishes her, his teenage daughter, just for, showing interest in boys and thinking about sex. He gets mad at Dee when she doesn't tell him that Moesha is taking birth control pills, like as if he's entitled to know that. He's not. And to top it all off, that infamous plot twist about him lying to his entire family, about him having a secret child and not telling anybody and moving said secret child into his house. Like, what? Frank is the devil. Frank is the devil. He's the worst. He's the worst. There's no other way to put it that Frank is the worst. He's a terrible father, terrible husband, and you know what the craziest part is? Is that the writers of the show, I don't think they actually realized that they made Frank a villain. They were trying to make him like a strict but loving father, but he doesn't come off that way. He just comes off as an asshole. He's so rude and egotistical, and he's so stubborn. Oh my god! And he's also very misogynistic. Like, his misogyny often goes unchecked, even though Dee tries to call him out several times. But it just never gets through his thick skull that he's a terrible father. All right, now let's talk about some of the plot lines from this show. The first one I want to talk about is Q versus Frank. Now, this plot line is when I started to hate Frank Mitchell because the way that this man lost his mind when his daughter started dating Q was absolutely absurd. Like, Moesha starts sneaking in with Q, so I understand why Frank doesn't like him at first. But then, when Moesha invites Q over for dinner, hoping to, like, clear the air between her father and her boyfriend, Frank asks them at the dinner table if they're having sex. Like, the answer was no, but if the answer was yes, Frank would probably never let Moesha leave the house again. Because he's like that, and I don't like that at all. I don't like that he tries to punish Moesha just for having a sexuality. Like, she's a teenager. What did you think was gonna happen, my guy? Anyway, so Moesha and Q was a couple. They were cute at first, but then it just started to get ridiculous. Like, they didn't need to get engaged. They didn't need to get back together. Like, it was a very intense, cute first love, but it should have just been that. All right, next plot line is what many people agreed is the plot line that ruined the entire series, the Dorian plot twist. Okay, so it is revealed by Frank's aunt that Frank had an affair while he was married to Moesha and Miles's mother, Marguerite, and he conceived Dorian with a woman named Barbara. And Marguerite told Frank that if he brings Dorian into their house, she'll leave him. So Frank was forced to give Dorian to his sister, and she adopted him and raised him as her own. Now, Dorian, Moesha, Miles, Dorian, Moesha, Miles, and Dee did not know about this until Frank's aunt accidentally revealed it. And Frank was never going to tell anyone, in my opinion, because, well, he moved Dorian into his house, didn't even imply that he wanted to tell him about this, and he probably would have took the secret to his grave if his aunt had snitched on him. That's the crazy thing about all of this, is that he lied to everyone for 17 years. And then when the truth got out, Moesha was so distraught that she moved out. I honestly think Dee should have left him. But unfortunately, everyone forgave him. It took Dorian some time, but I don't know. Like, many people say that this plotline ruined the show, but I argue that Dorian's character in general ruined the show. Like, the show was already going down the drain before this very dumb plot line happened. So yeah. And lastly, we need to talk about the ending. So the makers of the show did not know that the sixth season was going to be the last because unfortunately the show was prematurely canceled before we got answers to some very serious questions that the show had put in the final episode of the sixth season. First of all, Miles got kidnapped because Dorian he was being um, he was being pressured by this rapper who wanted more money out of Dorian, who was starting his own rap career. And because Dorian refused to give him more money, the man kidnapped Miles and is holding him for ransom. And also, back at Moesha's college, is one of Hakeem's friends finds a pregnancy test in Moesha's dorm, and the audience is left wondering whether Moesha, Nisi, or one of their roommates is pregnant. Now, many people suspected it was Moesha because at the end of the episode, and effectively the end of the series, when Dorian tells Moesha that Miles got kidnapped, Moesha faints. Now, it could be either she fainted because she was pregnant or she just found out that her little brother got kidnapped. We don't know, and we never will because the show got canceled. Wow, that was a spit in the face, wasn't it? Like, there were many. I don't really see people releasing a lot of theories about this because, black sitcoms, they don't really get that much attention, especially ones that got canceled. So I guess we're left up. So I guess we're just left wondering what would happen to Miles. Is Moesha pregnant with Hakeem's baby? Christ, that would be wild. Even though certain aspects of the show haven't really aged that well, Moesha is still a really good show. People of almost any age group can watch it and get tons of enjoyment out of it. Although, if you're going to watch it, it's on Netflix by the way, I only suggest watching the first four seasons because everything goes downhill in season 5, and I don't want y'all to witness that. If you like this video and you want to see more of my reviews, don't be afraid to like, share, and subscribe. Bye!